What's up, guys? Chris back with another video. Last time I installed WordPress on IIS was about 10 years ago. Looks like things changed from that time to this time. A lot of people were using this web platform installer to get it done, but as you can see, December 31st, 2022, Microsoft no longer supports the web platform installer. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to do everything manually. I'm going to launch vCenter, go through my environment, and we're going to start off from pushing a server right from scratch and then installing MySQL, PHP, IIS, and then eventually WordPress. When I start my lab environment, I always like having a template first. It makes doing work and going to different scenarios a lot quicker. You don't have to worry about installing updates. You don't have to worry about doing certain tasks. You have a server up and running in a couple of minutes. So we're going to go ahead and select a name for the server. I just named it simple YouTube WordPress test. And we're going to choose our second data store and we're going to thin provision it. This is something that shouldn't take that much space. We're going to customize the OS, power the server on, and then we're going to use our answer file for our template. And we're going to go ahead and let this server build. You can see the server came up a couple of seconds. I fast forwarded everything. And now we have our desktop. So the first thing you want to do is we're going to be downloading a lot of stuff on the server. So you want to lower the security for Internet Explorer. So we're going to click on the local server. Then on the right hand side, we see the IE enhanced security configuration. So that's on. So basically what happens is every time you're trying to download something, you have to allow the website. Every time you click a link, it pops up to allow. Well, this turns that setting off. We're going to let Edge do its thing, fire up. First thing we're going to do is we're going to download and install MySQL community server. You can go ahead, search MySQL. You'll see the first results pop up with community server. Go ahead and download that. Going to go to the download page. And let's download the whole MSI, not the downloader. And you don't have to log in or sign up. No thanks, just start my download. It's going to download to your downloads folder. Go ahead, show in folder. Double click on your install. Let it all unpack. The installer starts and we're going to choose the settings custom. Then we're going to choose MySQL. And in the applications, we're going to choose the workbench. Also, you're going to have to select the options you want and then hit the right button. MySQL just installed. We're going to have to configure some options. You can keep everything default and make a note of the port number 3306. For your case, you want to choose a really complex password and you want to use a password locker or something you're going to remember. Just for our demo purposes, we're going to choose a weak password. You can leave all these as default. Now the workbench launched. We just want to make sure we could use that password to log in. You don't want to configure anything or move further if you can't log into your MySQL server. So there we go, workbench launched, password worked. Now we're going to launch the MySQL command line utility. This is the same password you used when we did the install. First, we're going to create the database, WordPress. Now we're going to switch to the WordPress database. Now we have to create our WordPress user. You can make this user anything you want. I just named it WP user, and I made a simple password just for this demo. This is going to be the user that will connect to the database from WordPress. And now you want to give the WordPress user full access to the WordPress database. Last step, we flush the privileges and then we exit. And at this point, your MySQL is configured to be used for WordPress. Now let's go ahead and download PHP for Windows. There's two things we're going to have to download on this site. Under the IIS version, we're going to have to download and install the Visual Studio, and you want to choose the x64. And then we go to downloads, and we want to download the non-thread safe version of PHP. And again, 64-bit. As PHP is downloading, let's go ahead and install the Visual Studio. This is a quick install, so I didn't fast forward. You just have to agree, and the install does the rest of it. Pretty quick. Now we're just waiting for this PHP to finish downloading. Alright, PHP finished the download. Let's go ahead and extract it. You could just keep it simple, just call it PHP. Alright, now that's all extracted. You see all your files in here. You want to make sure that there's data in the folder. And we're going to go ahead and move that folder to the root of the C drive. I just like keeping everything simple, keeping it in one location. Now we move that there. Now we have to let Windows know that, hey, this is where we move PHP, and this is where you should run all your PHP commands from. So we go to the About of the computer, to the Advanced System Settings, Environment Variables. Under System Variables, we're going to choose Path, Edit, New, and now we're going to type in the location of where PHP is. Now the Windows Server operating system knows where to run PHP commands. Now let's go ahead and edit the PHP INI file. First, we're going to rename it and delete the production part. Right click, edit. It's going to open a notepad, and what we want to do is we want to uncomment a couple of lines. So you could just do a Control F, which finds. This PHP document is super long and you'll never find it regular, so you type in the first one we're going to look for is CGI force, and we uncomment it, remove the semicolon, and we change the redirect equals to 0. Next one we're going to look for is CGI.fix, and that's path info, and uncomment that. Next one is going to be fast CGI.impersonate. Uncomment that one. Now it's going to be fastcgi.logging. Uncomment. Now we're going to have to let PHP know that we need to use MySQL. So that's going to be extension equals MySQL I. Uncomment that. And then there's another one, extension equals PDO underscore MySQL. Now we'll save this. And if we're doing a save as, you want to choose all files, look for the PHP INI. If not, it'll try to save it as a notepad. Now let's test out and make sure that my PHP configuration is working. So that's command prompt php-m, and this lists all the extensions. We want to make sure we see MySQLi and not just MySQL ND. So we have PHP done, we have MySQL done. Now we have to install IIS. So your server tools is still open. We look on the top, manage, add roles and features. Now we choose next, next, and you see the server name and IP. If any of that has to change it now. Choose web server IIS, add feature, next. Now we want to look for certain settings. So I like to install ASP.NET. There's some plugins that use that I wouldn't to use in the future. Now we got to choose a few more options. We need custom logging, logging tools, CGI, and IIS 6 management tools. While that's installing, we're going to have to create a local service account. So tools, computer management, and then we're going to create a new user. I tried to keep a simple password for the demo, but it wants something at least complex. So let's go ahead and make a sort of complex password. Now let's make this local account an admin. Looks like IIS is still going through. Let's go ahead and download and install the IIS rewrite rule. That's one thing with Bing. You can't tell which one's an ad, which one's a website. Simple, quick download. We scroll all the way to the bottom and we look for our x64 with our language. And this install needs IIS. It's one of its prerequisites, so don't try to install it now. We'll have to wait for IIS to finish installing for us to install the IIS rewrite tool. Great, IIS install. Let's go ahead and launch IIS. And we could pin that to taskbar so we don't have to go look for it every single time. There's a couple of things we're going to have to configure first. First thing we're going to have to configure, we're going to have to let IIS know to use fastCGI. So we go to the handler mappings, and then we're going to have to add a fastCGI module mapping. Right hand side, add module mapping. And this is going to let IIS know that, hey, anything PHP, this is what we have to use. This is why I like keeping everything on the root. We have to choose your PHP CGI EXE. Give it a quick name, and one more option we have to configure under request restrictions. We want to make sure file and folder is selected. Now we've added the PHP via fastCGI module. We're going to go ahead and add a default document called index.php. If you don't do this, IIS won't know to load that file. So simple, index.php, and it'll add to the top of the list. If you don't need the other ones, you could remove it as well. Now we're going to have to add a fastCGI setting. We want to make sure the max requests, we bump that up a little bit. So first we're going to have to change some of the variables. We're going to add one called PHP fastCGI max requests. Now we gotta let IIS know to use that service account we created. So we go to application pool. We add an application pool called WordPress. You could name this anything that you want. Keep the default settings. Now we have to go and let this application pool know, hey, this is the account and this is the password that we have to use. Under identity, custom account, that account that we named before, and you want to use your machine name and your account name and that password. So let's just go ahead and double check the name that we created this user. You just do right click, rename, copy paste. Keeps everything easy, keeps everything consistent. Here we go, computer name. Now let's check, make sure everything works. Click on the default site, basic settings, test settings, and both of these should be checked green. If they aren't, when you open your website, you'll get some 40443 error saying you don't have rights. So let's go ahead and okay that out. Now we're going to download WordPress. Okay, WordPress downloaded. I like extracting this to the final location of where it's going to be. The WordPress folder isn't that big, but it has so many items and it takes forever for it to copy. So let's go ahead and move that to the www root folder, and that's inside initpub on the root of your drive. So we're going to extract all that there, and go ahead and fast forward this. Great. Now WordPress is in the www root folder. First file we're going to have to change is the wp config, and you could always copy these and paste them somewhere else just to keep a clean copy, but we want to remove this sample. So it's going to be wp-config, right click, open with try app on this PC and notepad. There's a couple of settings we have to change. We have to change our database name. So these are all the settings that we used from our MySQL install. So we got WordPress for our database, WP user, and that password we have. If your MySQL was located on a different server, that's where you would change the host name. But since it's on the same box, we can leave it as localhost. And we're going to save this. And we just want to make sure that it didn't save as a text file. You can look at the time, refresh just to double check. Cool. Now the next file that we have to go to is going to be install.php, and this file installs WordPress on the machine. So let's go ahead back to our browser, and it's going to be localhost, our WordPress directory. Within that directory we have our WP admin directory, and that's where the install.php is located. Now we could just make our title, and the next username is going to be the username you use to log on to WordPress to make your changes. So we want to have that something unique and a strong password, and you're gonna have to put in your email address. And this installs WordPress. And there you go, we're at a login screen. We use our account to get in, log in, and there you go, WordPress is installed. IIS is not one of your common web servers to run WordPress. You have Apache, you have Nginx, but this shows you how to get it done on Windows, how to get it done on IIS. Maybe you have a special use case scenario where you have to run something on Windows, or you don't have any other machine available and you want to get WordPress maybe in a test environment. There you go, guys. We successfully installed WordPress on a Windows server in 2023 without the web platform installer.